Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here with my next Avatar video. This is going to be my next Legacy of Yangchen chapter analysis video. This one's going to be for chapter 8, which is called Stomping Grounds. So this is very much a follow-up to the previous chapter. It's a lot shorter as well than most of the previous chapters. But we end on a very interesting note here with the reintroduction of the rest of Team Yangchen, the rest of the companions. So it gets to a pretty fun place, but is overall perhaps not the most eventful or notable chapter in the book so far. It's just one of those ones where, like, this is what needs to happen at this stage of the story to get us to the area where we need the rest of the plot to kind of play out. So we open up here with Kavik kind of course, watching over Yangchen as she sleeps. He notes that in his experience being around her, this is the first time she's ever just had like a complete night's sleep. Every other time, no matter where it was that they were, Northern Air Temple, Jandarie, whatever, she would always get up in the middle of the night and, do some training or something like that, blow off some steam, as was shown to us in the previous book, like with the different kind of moments where she did the air ball and stuff like that. She doesn't tend to get a lot of sleep, and so her actually getting full rest here is very notable overall. But he reflects on what he heard Yangchen say as Avatar Gun in the previous chapter. Of course, he doesn't know it was Avatar Gun, so he's kind of thinking about that as well. Like, was it a past Avatar? What if Yangchen just happens to know someone called Masosa and that these are her honest thoughts on the situation? But he wonders, like, do the White Lotus know that there was a past Avatar who was willing to give up on humanity? And also, he's kind of thinking that if this is Yangchen, what Gun said kind of applies to Yangchen's place in the world and how she might see the nations. And we obviously know that that is the case. So Kavik kind of picking up on that as well, and that this is the person I'm potentially betraying harshly for the second time. He definitely thinks about that, and just the point that's kind of really pointed out to us here, that might not have been the only Avatar disappointed with us, ready to end it all. But at this point, Yangchen does wake up. He doesn't want to address the whole who was Masosa situation. So they just have a little bit of a kind of silent kind of moment here. Things are still awkward between the two of them, of course, because of the betrayal from the previous book. But they eventually make their way towards the Northern Air Temple, with Kavik kind of thinking the whole time that, like, somewhere probably around these areas is where unanimity is being held, the three firebenders, of course. So they're actually arriving at the village that's basically nearby the Northern Air Temple, the one with the hospital right nearby. So this is where we were and around this point in the previous book as well, where we had the hospital scene, and we'll see a reference to that as we go on as well. But he notes that that this place has kind of been built up quite a bit, even in the small amount of time it's been since he was last here. Several hasty construction projects had sprouted up, and just a lot more going on here. And he notes that, wow, the village is bustling. Yangchen's opinion on this is that, very technical here, there are 1/10 more people living here than the arable land can support. The number keeps growing, and that, all of this stuff is going to run out. There's not enough water. We cannot support this growth in population. So he does, at this point, kind of realize that, oh yeah, like, in a way, this is kind of similar to what's happening in Bin-Er. The population is growing, everything is doing quite well, but it can't really support itself at this rate. Something needs to kind of change. There needs to be kind of monetary support to help the infrastructure type stuff. But she's like, but yes, it is bustling, as you say, highlighting that, what someone would just naturally think versus how Yangchen thinks about it. Like, oh, it's doing well, but she just sees it as doing well typically means, like, there's a lot of stuff that needs to happen behind the scenes to support that growth, and that's the difference in their kind of perspectives on things. And Kavik at this point notes that, like, oh, that reaction kind of tells me that, like, the people seem happy. They're delighted that they're kind of preparing in a way to meet the Avatar here. They have the same devotion that the people of Bin do towards their Avatar. And he's kind of aware they have that approach of their Avatar would think of something to save them. If things get truly bad here, they expect a miracle from their Avatar. And it's referencing, in a way, the Gun situation of, like, can she sustain that sort of pressure? And it's that whole idea of Yangchen is a successful Avatar, but the people, in a way, need to know that the Avatar can fail so as not to have such high expectations. But Yangchen won't accept a failure, even though it would present a realistic view of the situation. And that's just the crazy situation that the Avatar kind of tends to be in. Like, you in a way can't be perfect enough as the Avatar. And I like the nuance of that. That is discussed in the previous book. It's discussed here. That's the kind of whole idea here. So Yangchen's like, yeah, we're about to get mobbed here. You have to get off before the landing area because no one can really know that he's with her. So he's like, oh yeah, how am I supposed to get off here? And then she just literally airbends him off. So this is kind of the second time this has happened where she's just, no warning, airbent him off the bison. And he is on the side of a hill, so he lands relatively comfortably. It is mentioned, yeah, that Yangchen puts like a air cushion, so he doesn't just smash into the ground from a height. And she's just like, stay hidden, I'll find you later. So then we have a cut in the chapter, and Kavik isn't staying hidden. He's actually enjoying a little bit of the freedom that he has here, and he is walking around the town. He is trying to avoid attention, which we know he's actually pretty good at. So this is again where he more heavily notices what Yangchen was saying, like how much things kind of are improving, how much it's becoming like kind of Bin in a way. And that makes sense, seeing as kind of Yangchen is sort of the one kind of helping both of these places to grow. But the kind of problems are there in a way as well. He kind of slightly bumps into a kid, but the kid is kind of like, goes over to his mother then. But his mother notices Kavik and is like, I know you, don't I? And so Kavik, when he looks at the woman, is like, oh, I'm going to get recognized here because this is the woman that he and Yangchen saved in the hospital scene from the first book. So this was when Kavik first arrived at this place. He hadn't proved himself yet, but there was a big emergency with this woman. He brings the water in and holds it up as Yangchen does kind of like the full body healing. And then we got the reveal at the end of that chapter that, like, where's my son? My son is missing. And then, of course, they ended the first Yangchen book, Dawn of Yangchen, with the reveal that they did actually find the woman's son, who's obviously this boy here. And we get the name here. His name is Lan. So that's really cool. So he has to kind of like get out of the way here so he doesn't fully get recognized. But it's quite an interesting reference to have here, to see that these two are surviving here in the town. Nice reference, definitely. So as he goes to kind of make his escape here, he dives into the tea house and is just like, okay, I'll calm things down in here. So he goes up. He's still focused on what happened outside and is just like, okay, yeah, tea please. And then he looks up at the person who's kind of running the tea house behind the counter, and it's Akudan. And then he looks over to the side, and like, just on the other side of the room is Taegum and Jujinta, and they immediately spot him, and it's this kind of really funny situation where, of course, he wasn't expecting to see them here, and they certainly were not expecting to see him. And he's sort of more prepared for this because he's kind of been thinking in his mind that he needs to apologize to them, but to them, they just know that he betrayed Yangchen in some way and hasn't come back. They don't know the details yet, so they're furious with him. So it's a pretty crazy situation. He doesn't know what to do, and it's noted here that Jujinta, on the other hand, did know exactly what he wanted. He must have known exactly how he'd treat the moment, because without a hesitation or changing in his expression, he drew a knife and leaped over the table at Kavik, blade first. So, of course, we know Jujinta is incredibly loyal to Yangchen after the end of the first book. So, knowing that Kavik betrayed her would be something that he would absolutely go at Kavik over. So that is very in character, I think, for Jujinta. But it also speaks to the idea of, like, those two had a friendship. The first character to meet Jujinta of note was Kavik. That's how Jujinta came into contact with Yangchen. So there's a betrayal that's personal there, not just because of the whole Yangchen dynamic. But nice to see the other three get introduced in this moment. And again, keep in mind, especially with Taegum and Akudan, they have had to leave their home because of Kavik's betrayal, because he has effectively made things unsafe for everyone in Jondari, because that's Shaisi's territory, and she is trying to find out what exactly happened herself to Unanimity. Like, there's so much question around, like, they had to get Taegum and Akudan out. They couldn't stay there. So they've had to change where they're living, and that's why they are annoyed at him. But, you know, that is where the chapter comes to an end. I think it's a good place to end the chapter with just the idea of, okay, how is he going to get out of this situation here? Based on what we know from before, Taegum and Akudan are pretty reasonable characters. So I think they're going to, you know, they're going to calm things down. Jujinta kind of flying off the handle here, I think makes sense. But, you know, we're going to get to see the kind of more recent dynamic here. Because we know the whole point here, those three are so loyal to Yangchen. And they have to know that, like, okay, he's probably here because of Yangchen, so we have to wait to see what she has to say. But we'll get into that in the next chapter. So yeah, a pretty straightforward to the point chapter, but I like a lot of the details reflecting on the previous chapter. Him kind of like, wow, did the White Lotus know that this was the way an Avatar once thought? Might Yangchen feel the same way about, like, giving up on humanity? That's all kind of interesting stuff. Even the kind of more kind of subtle details of, like, you know, the growth of this town here with the hospital nearby the Northern Air Temple. Compared to, say, the growth of Bin and how similar they are, and, you know, the expectations being placed on Yangchen when things go wrong, and her reputation. It's all of this stuff that I think adds to the depth in these books overall. Not to mention the humor of, like, you know, once again, the kind of running joke of Yangchen just sends Kavik flying off the bison when she does a drop off. That's really fun, and the humor of just, oh, this is the reunion of Kavik with the other companions is pretty nice, and the reference with the woman and her son is great. So nicely referential chapter, even though it's only like 5 pages long. So that has been the video. In the comments, let me know what your thoughts are, but that's been it. Thanks for watching, and bye.